Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko, simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka, nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia vice chair. Nashindwa, Moses ni ule ule.
Nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote, mambo yao ni matatu: either wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
And indeed, this is debatable. Agree to disagree.
Yes.
Good evening and welcome to the show. I am yours, Alan Hubbard, and my co-pundit is none other than
Boniface Mirikwa. Yes.
Not Halwale.
No, not the bullfighter.
Yes, Boniface Mirikwa.
Yes.
In a little while he's going to be telling you what he does. But picture this. A cabinet secretary who declares himself the acting president. And a cabinet secretary who also tells Kenyans to go dig their own oil wells. And also a rogue economic advisor who says, who told you to trust those politicians? And he's not a politician, so he does not create solutions, and he's not a sympathizer to anybody. Among other stories, we're going to be covering these in debatable, agree to disagree. Is it a coup or is it a scare? 34 years, is it?
39.
39 years
Yeah.
for the man in Congo Brazzaville, or for the president, to be
Yes.
specific,
Dennis.
in Congo Brazzaville. And also our very own turned into a spokesperson for Safaricom PLC while he was in the United States. We're going to be weighing into that. Either we are here to disagree and agree at the same time.
Yeah.
Do this, engage with us on our social media, on the platform. Post your comment, give us a like and a share. It will go a long way in making sure that as many people as possible get to engage with our content. Bonnie,
Yes.
how have you been, and how has your week been thus far? As you also introduce yourself officially.
Okay, officially. Officially, my name is Boniface Mirikwa. And on Twitter, I'm at _Bonified. It has been a diplomatic week,
Yes.
also, because we had the G77 forum, and
How
also
many G's are there?
I think there's so many. There's so many. We have G7, G20, G77. Perhaps we are going to have another G here.
Yeah, a G58. Is it 54?
54, yeah,
Yes, a
for African.
G54, yes,
Yeah,
for
of course.
African countries.
Yeah. So we also have the mega debate or forum starting tomorrow for the high-level leaders. But you know that the United Nations General Assembly has been there from 5th of September. And in the United States, they call it the Super Bowl of politics.
Yes, Super Bowl of politics.
And Europe, they call it the Premier League of politics and diplomacy.
And
In Kenya, we call it the Olympics
that's quite interesting.
of diplomacy.
Yeah.
So we are very, very eager to know and learn what will happen in the UNGA,
Yeah.
78. And we also have internally, as you said, it is a controversial kind of political nature going on internally. We have Moses Kuria uttering words that maybe some of us are surprised that they're coming from our cabinet secretary.
No, do not say some of us. No, say you are surprised.
Well, I am surprised. I take that. I am surprised. We have David D also joining in that bandwagon. And, our president, our very own president, going to the United States, selling Kenya, and also, as you said, being a spokesperson of some other company. You're going to tell me about that. So it has been a very interesting week, and it's going to be also an interesting week, this coming week, or this starting week, and also it's my birthday week, so
Birthday week.
very, very interesting.
We should have some sprinklers somewhere. Somewhere here.
I thought you were saying you should have some cake.
No, cake for who? Cake. Do men eat cake for that toxic masculinity?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can deviate from politics kidogo, but either way, we'll make that story off off of air.
Yeah.
And where do we start this conversation today? Pick a place, because I might be on your neck this today.
I am well ready and prepared. Well, let's start internally. Let's start with Moses Kuria.
Moses Kuria.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get to Moses Kuria, let's start with the bullfighter, your namesake. Yes,
Boni Khalwale.
He was in Western Kenya, if I'm not wrong, over the weekend, and he was trying to sort of soothe the souls of Kenyans in Western Kenya, and telling them that the cost of fuel is global, so they should not think anything about that. And also he was talking to border people and telling them that's why they went to Korea or some other country and brought in electric bikes. And people in Bonde la Ufa, is it Bonde la Ufa?
Bonde la Ufa, yes.
Yes, they were not having it at all. Before you give me your sentiments, I think let us first hear what Boni Khalwale was trying to make a case for the ruling party, Kenya, or let me not say the ruling party, but the government holistically. And here is Boni Khalwale in Western Kenya over the weekend.
Listen to me and listen to me properly. Yibei ama kura, yibera bupi sana. Hiyo ni kweli. Yenze kasi yanje, shinde mundu horra kaba yende kasi ta. Wakati bei ya mafuta imebadilika katika jamii ya ulimwengu, nimeenda kwa president, tumeenda Korea, tumeleta bodaboda yenye wewe uwezi hiyo mafuta.
And if by any chance you do not understand the Luya language, probably Boni can. And I did not deliberately start with that clip so that I can pick on you. But what is Boni Khalwale? The only thing that I'm getting is that the congregation is disagreeing with it.
Yeah.
But what is, I had Korea, the president, they went to Korea. But before that, what was Boni Khalwale saying?
I think he's trying to soothe, as you said, and saying that they're taking measures against the increase of fuel. So I shall go ahead with my statement.
Yes, go.
I should be protected in the comments. All right. I'll say this. The price of fuel is increasing, and it's true that it's increasing globally, and it's caused majorly by the oil producers.
Yes.
They're cutting back production of oil, majorly because they have their own internal ambitions. For example, Saudi Arabia wants to build a city. They want to diversify their portfolio. These are nations that have been depending on oil for a very long time, and singularly oil. So they're looking at avenues whereby they can diversify their portfolio. This is because, people are looking at green energy as the future.
Yeah.
And now they're saying that if people are going to green energy, we're going to lose. So they are trying to cut the production, and increase the demand, therefore increasing the price, and that's why you're seeing the price is going up. That is my argument on it. And I also know that, even Russia is kind of hands tied because of they are selling at a discount to China and India so that they can fund the war, because Europe is not taking their gas as per now. So that is what is affecting our country right now. And also, there is the factor of our cushioning amount in case of increases in price. We put our cushioning amount to around 5 shillings or 5 point something shillings, which is not enough when prices increase, For example, when it increased the other time with 11 shillings or so, it tends to go higher than the cushioning amount that we had put so that it can regulate the amount.
Cushioning amount in the previous government or in the current government?
In the current government.
But you say, the government said that they do not have subsidies, or they gave it another fancy name.
This one has been there. This one, it has a name. It has a name, but I'll search for it and next time I'll bring it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, this matter is very simple. As I am a knowledgeable person, yeah, I know that oil prices all over the globe are skyrocketing, and as you've said, the people who have the crude oil, they are playing, let me say, dirty business, literally, basically, and they're saying, how can we get top dollar or top Kenyan shillings for our money, for our oil? But then my argument, I don't know if I've had this argument with you before, my argument has always been, yeah, even if you are in politics, it does not deter you from saying the truth. Because the day that the fuel prices went up high, one, it was very conspicuous. At exactly 10:59, when nobody could go on the streets, that's when they decided to hike the fuel prices. The deputy president was not in the country, the president was not in the country, the cabinet secretary, the prime cabinet secretary, was also mysteriously missing in the country. And what are you doing in this situation? When you look at the previous regime and the systems that they had in place, you would say to some extent, every Kenyan right now would tell you, the previous government was trying. Yeah, probably the mechanisms this regime does not agree with, but to some extent Kenyans were cushioned. But then you, as the current government, you've said you have a G2G understanding between oil producing nations and your own country, and you'll be able to cushion Kenyans in terms of fuel prices. But then a question is, then why aren't you able to cushion this the common mwananchi? Then what does that money do? What does the G2G buying and selling or commodities or fuel, what does it really mean for the Kenyan person? So there is this aspect that the common mwananchi looks at you and they're like, bana, wewe unatudanganya sasa. You get? And if the government is able to come out, like the president, even what is making the president, even though he is at the UN General Assembly, because that's what he's going to attend and complete his visit in the United States, what is stopping him to make a statement that exudes confidence into his government?
Well, you're right. You're right by the fact that the president should be in charge and should give statements that maybe try to make the common mwananchi understand what is going on in terms of oil prices.
Yes.
But at the same time, we also have cabinet secretaries that should step in that position.
He's cabinet secretary, and he has said it himself. He knows more about ministries than the cabinet secretaries themselves. So if you know you have quote unquote an incompetent government, then unfortunately you have to show up and make sure that your government does not look as if it does not have things in order. I will use a classical male sort of phenomenon that I've had several times, and I do not want to sound misogynistic in any way, that no matter what happens in a household, the man is to blame. No matter what happens, because the man is the last guard of a home.
Yes.
If the wife misbehaves in the family, it's the man. If the children misbehave in the family, it's the man. So even if you have cabinet secretaries, even if you have permanent secretaries, but even if you have a deputy president, it all falls back to you as the person. Because how many times have you heard that Kenyans are asking questions directly to a cabinet secretary? We do not even know some of these cabinet secretaries. We know the president, that it is him who is in charge. So my last thing that I would say is, I think this government should have an ounce, they should take ounces of truths and clearly communicate to Kenyans and tell them, hey, we are not, and not do it arrogantly, like some of the cabinet secretaries are doing it. Just come out correctly and say, okay, this is the situation that we are in, and these are the solutions that we are putting in place to make sure that we get to solve these problems. Not like a whole economic advisor who says that, yeah, we try. What sticks, what doesn't. There are no, even doctors who are trained at Harvard, they lose patience.
We lose patience.
Yeah, who does that, honestly?
Well, I think it's their mode of delivery of the message that perhaps does not resonate well with a lot of people.
I don't think it's the message, Bonnie.
And
it's also the, what are they called? It's also called the measures, the mechanisms, the policies that are being put in place. They aren't up to par. They aren't up to par.
Well, I think now we can agree to disagree on this. I believe the government has put up measures that should foresee better fuel prices, such as it tried to have to buy fuel in Kenyan shillings.
Yes, but what is the United Arab Emirates going to do with Kenyan shillings? Honestly.
They're going to change it to dollars.
So why do I make a loss at your expense?
Alan, you are prepared for this.
No, I wasn't
It's okay. It's okay.
I wasn't prepared.
I think
it's only logical.
I think it's logical, and you know what, the increase in fuel, as I said earlier, is majorly due to what is happening with the oil producers. They're cutting the costs, and this is a blanket kind of effect. It affects everyone and it cuts across. And the oil prices are going to increase even in the near future until the start of next year, because the oil producers have said they're still going to cut production more until the start of next year. So in that scenario, it is really, really expensive for the government to try to cushion everyone with that a much amount of money. So the best way is to let the oil prices be controlled with the market. Let them flow with the market first, up to where you'll think now they're about to stabilize. Now you can perhaps cushion the mwananchi from whatever might happen. But right now the markets are very volatile to maybe try and put up measures to cushion, and then they rise again, you know. It's going to be a challenging kind of balance.
And I totally understand and I agree with that economics. And if you're a Kenyan, let me also be a little bit unsympathetic, if that is a word. You are never going to ever see the oil prices going back to 100 Kenyan shillings, 180, 190. That forget. Personally, that forget. Now 200 Kenyan shillings is the new norm and going forward. But as I agree with what you're saying, look at what is happening in the country. There is tax after tax. As a person who is being considerate, or as a leader, as a government, let me say, that is being considerate, you will have to weigh your options. Because once the fuel prices go up, everything in the country has done what? Has gone up. Also, April, when they were increasing the prices of fuel, they said a very important thing, that this is in fact, okay, even as the fuel prices globally are expensive, but there is something that you're not talking about, the 16% value added tax on these fuel products.
I'll talk about it.
You get? Initially, it was at 8%, but when you double it, and this is why you're seeing these double digits that are happening currently, and if that is going to remain the value added tax that is being added on the fuel each time it's imported into the country, there is no any other time that they are going to be able to do what? To control the prices. So what you would rather do is balance it out on other things that would make lives of Kenyans a little bit easy. Look at the taxes every single day. I even saw a meme that renamed Kenya to tax. Is it Taxmanistan?
Yeah.
It is not really sustainable. Let me give you a classical example. 7,000 youth from NYS today showed up at Embakasi to let me use the word audition, to audition for 360 posts to join the army. 7,000.
That's serious. That is a serious kind of situation that we have. And I'm not in any way trying to say that we are all in the right direction.
Yes.
But all I'm saying is that the government has taken measures. For example, the government reduced the tax, or is it the VAT? I'm not sure, for gas. And now the gas prices are a bit lower.
How many people are using? Listen. You will have to agree with me on this one. I'm not going to allow you to disagree.
All right.
You have decreased gas ameshuka. Fair and good.
Given, yeah.
Given, that's a given. Well and good. How many on a scale on a population sample of on a population like 53 million Kenyans? How many people use gas in their house? How many? The guy who lives in Shavakali, they rely on kerosene to cook, to light, and either probably do other things in their house. That kerosene is at 203 Kenyan shillings right now. Their maize right now, because there is circulation, there is high supply in the market right now, they are not able to sell it at a higher shilling. And the government has also not put measures in place to cushion the farmer to sell their maize at a competitive price. So in the long run, yes, I have done business. I have planted. I have waited to harvest to get some extra money. But now, because this has not been done, competitive prices have not been put in place, I will have to sell on a loss. I'm okay. I will make a loss, but then I'm waiting to be taxed more off of the money that I've made, and still I have to spend more money in lighting up my own house. How is that sustainable?
Well, when you are considering what is happening around the country and the decisions that the government is making, we are also looking at the manifesto that they made and the promise that they made for Kenyans. And one of it was that the president is going to support the use of gas as a renewable energy in cooking. Yeah. And that is why it is... But there's a pact that they are having with Tanzania, with Taifa Gas to produce...
But even as the people are reporting,
it comes with that cost.
You see, what I'm talking about is let us don't go for solutions just because they have been sensationalized by the president. One, we are going to go for the electric vehicles, which is a good direction to go into. But how many charging ports or charging points have been set up by the requisite, the responsible KPLC to make sure that drive them effectively in the country? But also when we look at the scale of economics, how many people are able to buy these electric cars and sustain cost by? We need to look at a minute level and not just say, si watu wameanza kubai magari ziko electric, sasa climate change, you get. But I want us, because we are not going to finish on this one. Dig your own oil wells. This is Moses Kuria who said this. And also Kuria said that he is the acting president. I believe all this is under the same bite. But if not, let's play with the first bite. And when we come back, we're going to be reacting on that shortly.
Na watu siku hizi wanaongea mambo ya kuteremsha bei ya gharama ya maisha. Bei ya gharama ya maisha hawezi kuteremshwa kwa maandamano. Hasa naona wengine wana shida kwa Twitter kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni. Gharama ya maisha sio, ni upumbavu. Kushinda kwa Twitter kutoka jioni mpaka asubuhi kutoka mpaka jioni itakusaidia namna gani? Jamani, wale vijana tusiingie kwa hiyo line. Kenya haitaendelea kwa kuweka sufuria kwa kichwa. Sasa ukishinda kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni, bei ya mafuta imeongezeka, si uchipe kisima yako. Dunia mzima tunajua bei ya crude oil imeenda juu. Na kama wale watu wa Makerere wako na kisima, mimi niko tayari kuchipa kesho. Nionyeshe ngoma yako, niambie wewe chipa mafuta hapa ndio bei teremke. Na watu ni waajabu. Ile mambo tunaweza kufanya hawafanyi. Ile kujisajili wapewe fertilizer hawafanyi. Na hiyo tunaweza. Ile hatuwezi, kama mambo ya mafuta ndio nalalamika.
even astonished. I don't know what to say. Go first on this one.
All right. We know Moses Kuria in this country. He's not a new person in politics. Moses Kuria has been controversial ever since the name Moses Kuria surfaced into politics. We understand when he was supporting the former president in Gatundu, Moses Kuria was controversial.
Yes.
When he changed to support William Ruto, he was controversial. Even when he was with Martha Karua trying to come up with a party, he was controversial. So it is hard moments. Yeah.
It's interesting, but also if Moses Kuria say that we go dig our oils, I was thinking only about one thing. What happened to the oil in Turkana?
That question I've been asking myself. I think we should plan a trip to Turkana. Tulo oil. They said, okay, what they said is that the oil, there is oil, yes, but it will not be beneficial for the oil company to drill that well because there is no enough oil to pay back the profits that will come from the drilling. So that is the reason they gave, and they showed lorries written Tulo moving away from Turkana. So I think we should collaborate with our members in Turkana and maybe they take a snapshot and we see if they're really drilling or not.
Yeah. I think it is pretty sad, and even as Tulo Oil saying that there isn't enough oil to sort of to make business sense for them to be there. Then my question would be, instead of the government buying fuel or oil from abroad with Kenyan shillings, then that money would be invested in doing our own well in Turkana. Why did they have to bring in an independent contractor to
and
do it for
you know something interesting. Sorry to cut you. Something interesting that I read over the weekend is that these foreign oil producers or drillers.
Yes.
They actually don't like drilling new wells. Why? Because if you're drilling a new well, you're meaning that you are going to increase supply. And when you increase supply, what happens? The prices go down.
Yeah.
If today you drill an oil well in Turkana, that means that you're going to take the Kenyan market out of your reach.
Yeah.
And that is something they don't want. So the Kenyan government, as you said, should look into opportunities of us having our own way to get that oil and not depending on other countries or maybe established farms to do that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now you're starting to agree.
It is only now. It is only now.
Not any other time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I look largely on what Moses Kuria said there, I think there is one aspect that I would agree with him. Yeah. You looking at me. Yeah.
Is it you?
It is me. It is me. And this shows you that I'm a very objective person. There is only one aspect that I would. I'm not calling you non-objective.
Well,
how I'm looking at what Moses Kuria is saying, it would only make sense in one way. It would make sense in terms of because if we complain, then we aren't coming up with any other solutions. We aren't bringing any other solutions onto the table to make sure that we continue building the economy of our country. We continue building our country in the right direction. Did he say it in the proper way? No. Was he being constructive in what he was saying? Yes. Yeah, because I believe that if we all start complaining, then what happens next? Yeah, we're never gonna come up with any solutions, because a complaining mind, if your mind is preoccupied with complaining, then what part of your brain or your mind is going to be left to come up with solutions? None. Yeah. So I think in that aspect alone, the cabinet secretary was right. But you said something about the cabinet secretary being recalled. I think Boni Halwale, your namesake, said that the likes of Davis Chirchir, the likes of Moses Kuria and David D, and a whole long list of economic advisors who haven't built any business. I don't know why they are economic advisors. Boni Halwale said that they should be fired. And I think if we saw the president act in that manner, then probably he would be winning back a little bit of confidence from the people, saying, okay, we see now the president is taking up his whip and doing some work, because I believe if he does, probably we're never going to go the West African way. That might not be a solution here in the country. But if he does not make a move that sort of wins back confidence for him, he's slowly losing it. Because all the things, most of the things that you saw, that tracker that some farms have in the country that were tracking the promises that he made, it was quite devastating in terms of keeping the promise. It was rather alarming in terms of keeping the promises that he kept to Kenyans. So if he does not make a drastic move and continue letting people like Moses Kuria speak on his behalf just because of loyalty, he's going to move. He's going to be losing it, and not even only about loyalty, but people who have the audacity to stand in front of people and now say they are in command. Let's hear what Moses Kuria had to say.
Si mnajua rais yako wapi? Ako huko Marekani anaongea na wazungu. Mdogo yake Ligiji ako huko Colombia. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary watu ako huko Uingereza. Sasa mimi nikaulizwa nikalie hii kiti.
Doesn't this amount to treason?
Well, he can argue. He can argue it in different ways. That he was just he didn't mean it. He meant just a chair. You know, things. When you go to the court, you can argue anything. You can say white is black, and you can win that case. There's someone else who has ever said that.
Yes.
Can you remember the politician? I don't. There's someone else just some few years ago who has ever said. It was Mike Sonko.
Yes.
He said that the president is outside now. I'm the one who is in charge.
Yeah.
You know, this is just to maybe try to sensationalize the people, entertain the people, and be the controversial Moses Kuria that he is. He has to say anything that comes to mind. He understands that he has the support of the president at hand, and nothing maybe it cannot be taken in bad taste with the president. I think that is what Moses Kuria is looking at when he is saying such an utterance.
Yeah. Have you ever read the 55 laws? Is it the 54? Is it 55 something of
laws of power? Yes, I have.
Have you ever acquitted yourself with that?
I have.
Moses Kuria should be a worried man, because as you're making such utterances, you are clearly saying that you want your boss's job.
You're coming in line of fire.
You're coming in the line of fire. And talking about line of fire, this did not hold well with the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, and some of the tweets that David D put out on the same. Mr. Director, as you're giving us the tweets from David D, you also give us the response from the Deputy President. And the tweets were somewhat devastating, where the economic advisor, as I mentioned, never built any business, but the economic advisors, he was sort of responding to a Twitter user where he went ahead and said that, but the user said, but the government promised to do this and this and this and this. And David Ndi was like, and you believed them.
You know, I've never understood David Ndi. I think we'll need a whole kind of semester to sit down and just study David Ndi. Yes. I've supported the government in some quarters, and to be honest, I've never really understood what David Ndi means. But I think if I will try to reason with him, he is a realist. He's a realist. He's a person who will just say what comes to mind and put it as it is. He was trying to say, perhaps, you know, these are politicians. They can say whatever they want to say so that you can accept and vote for them. But when you come to realities on the ground, when you come to putting your plan into action, sometimes there are bottlenecks that you perhaps didn't think will come along the way, and they will affect the entire plan, and it will go into ruins. And sometimes you have to come up with countermeasures. I think what he lacked to say is, now because we're in this stage, what measures are we taking so that we can avoid further, perhaps, collapse of the economy, further suffering of the Mwananchi? That is what we want to listen to. That is the music that we want to dance to, other than telling us it is bad, so there's nothing that we can do. So I think David Ndii should perhaps come out clear and tell Kenyans that I was appointed in this position, heading the economic committee for the president, and this is what we planned, and this is what is not coming out clear. We understand, even Kenya Kwanza voters or Azimio voters will understand that there are circumstances that can come in the way, and but admitting that you failed is something else that some people cannot do.
Another tweet that broke the camel's back was, I am not a politician. I don't sell hope. It is going to be painful and it might not work. Even Oxford and Harvard trained doctors lose patience.
While it is true, they lose patience, but we have to understand that what is at stake here, these are the futures of people, futures of young generations of Kenya. If you mess up in these 5 years, you're really going to be blamed for the next 40 years, So they have to really take this into caution, that you're not just, I'm sorry to say this, you're not just losing one patient. You are losing an entire generation if you're going to mess up with these 5 years. So that is what they should put into context.
Very interesting there. Very interesting. When would you stop digging? Because I believe that the government is continuously digging. When do you think they should stop digging? Because the more they dig, the more they throw themselves in the ditch. You see, why I am of the school of thought of not over promising. They have everything to prove. Yes, because.
But Alan, politics, you really have to.
Bonnie, even before, let me be rude for the first time.
Okay.
You short.
All right.
Even my argument is, who said we cannot reinvent the wheel? Who said that every other single time we are in a political rally, we have to learn?
You remind me. Can I? You remind me of. Don't want to be rude. You remind me of something that we learned in economics called game theory.
Yes.
If A takes this position, then B will have to take a certain position.
Absolutely.
So if you're going for a campaign out there, and politician A says he will not abide by the laws and will just sensationalize people and say that they will pay this for them, they'll do these things that are not realistic. You remember we had something about laptops, laptops for children, which didn't happen.
Yes, and is it Kaminjirin Stadium?
Kamarini, okay. So it's okay. So if player A will not abide by the rules, then player B will also not abide by the rules. So it goes both ways.
Yes.
And so if player B sees that they will be disadvantaged or disadvantaged by the moves that player A is making, then they will counter them by just playing their game. So it cuts across. If you want politics to change in this, if you want to reinvent the wheel, as you said, we have to make sure that it cuts across both parties. And it also goes to our education system and really educating Kenyans on things that are sensational, because we all know, for example, if you've really delved deeper into understanding a manifesto and what can happen and what cannot happen, you will know that this one is a lie and this one perhaps is the truth. This one can work and this one cannot work. So it also goes down to us to really do mass education, to tell people that when these politicians are coming, they will tell you all things, but be very keen on asking them, how exactly are you going to achieve this? And that is where you're going to catch them.
All right. A deputy president who calls other leaders arrogant, and he is also known for the same demeanor. What do you think? You're not in luck this Monday. You are not in luck this Monday.
Our deputy president is a truthful man.
Saying that there are tigers in Kenya.
I heard that. I don't know if it's a slip of the tongue or because there are no tigers in Africa, not even in Kenya. There are no tigers in Africa.
A lot about the deputy president.
I think he tried to do what we just spoke here, sensationalize the speech to make people interested in to know what happens in Kenya and what is happening in Kenya.
So there are the wild beasts that move from Tanzania to Kenya.
Kenya.
Why would you have to go to the extent of saying that they are tigers, honestly?
I don't think that was right. I don't think that was right for him. But in one aspect or another, I think he did a very good job to represent Kenya in Colombia, in the coffee sector, because it is really a very important sector in our country, trying to renegotiate the prices. But either way, I think we should now try to have a better bargaining power for the country, perhaps try to have a cooperation with other countries so that they can sell at a better price. But for him to say that we have tigers in Kenya, that was really surprising. Perhaps maybe he has one or stuffed animals you can count.
You made it even worse. He has kept some in his current home.
Yes.
Quite interesting. I want us to take a quick one. When we come back, we're going to be weighing into President William Ruto's visit in the United States, meeting the likes of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, meeting executives at Wall Street, in Silicon Valley to be specific. That merger between, not a merger, I don't know why, probably I'm prophesying there might be a merger coming between Safaricom and Apple, but it's not a merger, it's just an integration of system between Apple and M-Pesa. But there is something that, even before we go for the break, there is something that I think some countries are really not understanding. When you are in the United States, there is something that is called Apple Pay. And this Apple Pay, what basically it allows you to do, it allows you to pay digitally at any cash point that you find in either in a supermarket, either in a cafe, either in a coffee shop, and you are able to pay digitally, and that money is able to be deducted off of your account. I don't know how really M-Pesa, even as M-Pesa is a phenomenon product, I don't know then to what extent are they looking to take it to the next level. Probably while we hear from the president, he will be able to explain exactly what is novel and how it is going to be benefiting the general Kenyan, not the Safaricom shareholders.
Of course. They were complaining the other day that they are not getting the profits as they are being recorded. That Safaricom is recording very high profits, but the shareholders are not getting anything. So
we know who are the shareholders. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back.
Kuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko, simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka, nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia vice chair. Nashindwa, Moses ni ule ulevi.
Nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote, mambo yao ni matatu: either wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko
wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyoko
ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko, simuko tayari.
Kwa mkutano nikiondoka nikapata mtu anaitwa Moses Kuria amenipigia simu. Nikipigia yeye ananiambia vice chair. Nashindwa, Moses ni yule ulevi.
Nimeambia wakora wote na matapeli na wezi pamoja na wafisadi wote mambo yao ni matatu. Either wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi ambaye hana gome yake ya kisiasa, na gome ya kisiasa ya rais wetu ni hapa Mlima Kenya na bonde la Ufa.
Lakini wakileta nyokonyoko,
ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Hakuna kiongozi.
And welcome back from that breather. Glad you stayed with us. Debatable, agree to disagree. Before we go to the president's visit of the United States, do you believe that the opposition, looking at the activity of the opposition, the arresting of Maina Jenga, do you believe that the opposition has sort of responded properly to the recent hike in fuel prices and the cost of living? Also mentioning that this is one of the things that is supposed to be talked about, the bipartisan talks. Are they even still happening?
Well, I can say if the bipartisan talks were not going the way the opposition will want,
they will be making noise right now.
They will be making noise, as our president, former president of Gabon said, make noise. So, so I think there is some aspect of understanding between the two sides, and that is why you are seeing that things are a bit cooled down. They raised a statement concerning the increase, the abduction and the increase of fuel. I remember I saw the former Prime Minister saying that the government should have taken measures to make sure that the fuel prices are a bit low. The abduction of the former Mungiki leader was also spoken about by Martha Karua and Babu Wino. So they are giving out statements, but it is not it cannot be compared to what they were doing some few months ago. Their statements were a bit bolder and a bit firmer. Right now, it is just, let's call for a press conference and say what you want to say. We call journalists and just read a statement and go away. So it is a bit toned down, and this is maybe because of the talks that are going on. But we really need an active opposition to try and balance things out.
We need an active opposition. The opposition is making a lot of noise. Talking about opposition, there is an active opposition player, and this is none other than Alfred Keter. I think it was in Wasingishu where he stood up and said, "I will speak truth to power." Here is Alfred Keter speaking to the cost of living.
What you mentioned about delocalization is bothering many teachers. And it will be worse because the fuel has been increased and the cost of transport will be crazy that no teacher will afford. The cost of living is on another level. That's why Bunge, you stood on a platform of bottom up, kusaidia wale wanyonge, alafu uende juu. Lakini sasa hizi mmesahau, mkiongeza fuel mnatesa wale wa chini zaidi kushinda wale wa mbele. Ngo mmoja wako kwa fuel tubote sio na mtu waje kututisha hapo kidogo tio pagile moto ku amu serikali kwa mwa. Mami, yoge ruboti wekitu. Ama sawa basi, mko hapa. Mkitoka hapa mtuonyeshe petrol stations ya watu wa serikali na ile ya opposition. Magenge, ndivyo mandazi kete begalibono. Anane. Na muzi tuambie teo sijini. Watu kumwagolo sa kwa sasa wanaona ni mrende timu mami.
You know, Kenyans, we are a very interesting lot. Before I weigh into what Keteru was saying there, you see how things are tough right now in the country. Everybody you speak to, and I jokingly, I know how to spark people's conversations and make them talk their self out. I always tell them, hey, wale wenye hatukupigia serikali kura sisi ndio tunasikia vizuri, and everybody is like, hata mimi sikupigia serikali kura. And then with this number of people, okay, it's not a very huge number, but then what makes you wonder, up to 20-30 people, and everybody says they never voted for this government, then who really voted for this government? And this links into what I wanted to say about Alfred Keter. You see, as he's giving this address, there are so many people in the audience that are shouting and sort of celebrating or agreeing with what he's saying. Then you wonder, where were these people when
can elect someone else? They will want that alternative voice to continue speaking that, as you said, truth to power, because they also resonate with that voice that is saying a different thing than what is going on. You know, while they cannot have that
voice at that
voice,
yes,
they need someone to stand in for them and be an alternative. But of course, if you go to elections again today, they will still vote in the same patterns they did. You see, that is...
It's like having a mpango wakando. You never really make them your wife or your husband.
Exactly.
But they are there. You don't want to lose them.
You don't want to go beyond some boundaries. But that is how politics, nature always works. Yeah.
Now to the president, as he is on it's almost a week, a week-long tour of the United States. He has met some business executives from Apple to OpenAI to the Silicon Valley, and he is with the ambassador of the United States.
Yes.
What do you make of this visit of the president to the United States?
I saw someone saying that the ambassador is now the ambassador of Kenya to the US.
As the president is the spokesperson for Safaricom.
You really had to do that. Well, the visit so far is looking very profitable in terms of what the president is doing. They call it, is it a road show or something? That they are making stopovers in different companies to speak with their CEOs, and the president is really pushing these people to invest in Kenya, which is a very good thing. He is opening our market and telling these people, you have very good platforms, come and invest in Kenya. It's a very good thing to do. The ambassador is also doing the same, because she's here, she tells them, I operate in Kenya, I'm Kenya, I know how it works. And these are the perks that the president is getting for aligning himself with the West, Now he's getting all these privileges and ideas, and being allowed to meet with all these people and make business the way he feels it will be right for Kenya. And I also saw he is promoting also Kenyan businesses in the United States. He went to, is it Swahili something?
Swahili
Village.
Washington, DC.
Swahili Village, yeah, in Washington, D.C.
Beautiful place indeed. I've never been there.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
It's a place where many African leaders, not only Kenyans, many African leaders, ambassadors, let me say ambassadors, because most of the consulates are in Washington, D.C.
Thank you.
That's where they conglomerate and they eat.
That's nice. That's nice. I saw him today. I think it was today. He was there, and he was marketing them and saying that this is a very good place for Africans to and Kenyans to join and converge and just meet the culture and don't forget about your country.
Yeah.
So in a wide spectrum so far, I'm seeing that the president is doing a very good job to market us with all these companies. And you know, Kenya and the United States share a lot in terms of what they offer. Of course, we don't have a lot of fuel reserve underground, but what we share with the United States,
Yeah.
you're convinced.
I am convinced. I am convinced.
So
See, when we go back to the African traditional setting, where there is smoke,
there is fire.
continue.
All right, thank you. So, so I think we share in terms of services.
Yeah.
The United States is a very big exporter of services. You can name them: movies, entertainment, and all these.
Talk of entertainment, he met the CEO of what?
Grammys.
Of the Grammys, and I thought, the president needs also to be awarded.
He should.
I don't know. I don't want to make the joke of what he should be awarded for, but he also needs an accolade. Mr. Director, if you don't mind, play the clip that the president was speaking about a Safaricom, a POC, and the cooperation or the doing of business together with Apple.
Safaricom is developing a partnership with Apple to integrate M-Pesa and its PayPal platform to extend M-Pesa's transactional reach globally. And this has nothing to do with Ambassador Whitman being the ambassador of Kenya. Our strategic collaboration with Microsoft, Intel, IBM, Oracle, and Google are going to be pursued from a similarly pro-tech, solution-oriented, opportunity-enhancing, and transformational standpoint. We have every intent of maximizing the wonderful chances that these companies have presented to radically enhance our service delivery capabilities in skills development and training, research and development, data management, semiconductor manufacturing, cloud platforms, and cybersecurity, as well as various sectoral interventions. Our efforts to strengthen bilateral trade relations between the U.S. and Kenya through the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership have begun to take shape. And as you heard Ambassador Whitman say, this is a process that we are engaged in, and we intend to conclude these negotiations and sign the first ever agreement between America and a country in our African continent.
That is the president at one of the visits that he made while he is on his tour of the United States. The question that I'm asking myself, even as I agree with you that all those negotiations are good for business, then that means that if business deals are struck between Kenya and the United States, then working conditions for people, because many people are already working in the United States. I have a friend who just moved to the United States, to be specific, New York. She shipped out of the country as a nurse. So these relationships have been existent for the longest time. We have seen people who work remotely for different firms in the United States. I think this then will just sort of concretize and seal these opportunities and probably increase the number of opportunities that now trickle down to Kenyans. But at what expense? Because you are an economist, yeah? You know, for every deal, You give and you take.
And you take.
We are only knowing what we are taking from these things, but we do not know what we are giving. What exactly are we giving?
The balance of trade is very important. But in this kind of a scenario,
Yes.
We have Kenya that is really a fraction of what total GDP of the US is.
And
So
I'm going to cut you right there. This is where the biggest problem is. Yeah. The biggest problem is that looking at, yes, your economy is a 300 million people economy. My economy is a 53 million economy. Definitely, you're not going to compare the two. But then there is something phenomenal. If you are dalliancing with me, then there is something that you need from me. I must use that card to the level best and negotiate for the best for my country people, rather than say, unajua sasa wewe ni mkubwa wetu, ni sawa tu tutafanya. And that is where most African countries have gotten it wrong. Even as we escalate into the conversations that are happening around Africa. Because whenever we are negotiating, we are looking at ourselves as the less party in this negotiation. So we give away more for us to get little. Yeah, we need to switch that language and say, okay, I understand. Yours is a 300 million people economy. Mine is a 53 million people economy. But guess what? You have what you're giving. I have what I'm giving. Let us negotiate at that level.
Well, Kenya has a lot to offer in terms of what these businesses will have when they set up shop here.
Yeah.
We understand that in terms of influence, Kenya has influence regionally and in Africa, across Africa. We understand that we have like the best kind of technology uptake across Africa.
Yeah.
We also have a very educated workforce. So if, for example, a country wants to invest in Africa for whatever purpose they will have, so Kenya will be the first stage for them to come and try out their business in Africa so that they can maybe expand to other countries. So it is like a landing phase for them to expand to other parts of the continent. And we understand that we also have a very flexible kind of setting for the government to allow these multinationals to come and set up shop in Kenya. We understand that we have many of these organizations having headquarters in Kenya. So I think that is what the president is trying to do. For example, the Grammys, he said that he should have a headquarter here in Kenya, the first headquarter in Africa. So he's trying to say that if you want to come to Africa, yes, okay, we can offer you the best place for you to start your venture into Africa and see what you can do with Africans, with our people in Kenya. You see.
But even as that is a good deal, they are going to come and set up shop, but all the profit that they make, they're going to go back and spend it in their own country. And that is where the problem is at. Yes, you will come and pay employees big paychecks, but how does that triangulate? How does that trickle down? Not bottom up, but how does that trickle down to everybody feeling that amount? If I am paid 30,000 Kenyan shillings per month, then I am going to spend some of that money in matatus to go from work and to work. The matatu sector is going to feel that money. If I'm going on that 30,000 again, Mama Boga from the bottom is going to feel that pinch of that money. And as my employer also is Kenyan, the economy equally is going to feel the pinch of that money. But when you are a top executive working at an international firm, you are going to be paid exorbitant salaries, which is good for you and your family. But how much money are you going to spend that on within the economy? Because one, you are going to take your child to a is it called GSCE something?
GCSE, yeah.
Yes, education system. Who run those schools? Foreigners. They get the school fees, they inject them where? In their own countries. You are going to ride in a swanky BMW. You are not going to buy it in a yard here in Nairobi. You are going to buy it direct from BMW in Germany. Where have you invested that money? Outside the country. You are going to want to buy an apartment You are not going to buy it from a developer from Kenya because you are producing at that level. You are going to want to buy it from a developer from outside the country. So how much of that money then revolves into our economy so that it bolsters it up and sort of takes it to the next level? Those are the real conversations that we're supposed to be having.
Okay. And I understand you have a very valid point on that. What I would add on that, try to reason in a different way, is we are looking at a situation where these countries will come and set up their headquarters, even just a single building somewhere they are renting. You know, they're going to employ, there's a threshold that you have to meet. So you have to employ Kenyans to a certain point. Yeah. So these Kenyans will be employed, and these Kenyans are going to trickle down that effect to their families, and of course, they are going to invest their money here in Kenya. You know, most of them. You know, and let me add on something.
Have you seen the interest rates? Have they have been dropping on bonds that are held by the Central Bank of Kenya?
Enlighten me.
That is a question. That is a rhetorical question. It does not necessarily need an answer. Yeah. But have you seen how these? I think in the past 6 months they have made a loss of over 300 billion Kenyan shillings. So if I am earning top dollar, because definitely if they are here, they're going to be paid in top dollar. Who has the time to invest in the country?
You know, what I'm saying is they don't really have to. You know, you have those people who are working at a higher level, senior levels, and you have people who are working at junior levels or middle. You know, those are the people I'm talking about. Those are the majority of the people who are working for those companies. They're still going to have their families here. They're going to buy a shamba somewhere. They're going to put up businesses here in the country. And also, we are learning from what they are bringing to our country. It is a kind of diversity in terms of businesses, in terms of what is being offered. In one way or another, we're going to have people working for those companies that are going to gain the talent to try and replicate what they are learning in their own way, in their own creative way.
There will be copyright infringement.
In their own creative way.
Yes.
And it's a gain for the country in one way, and I accept that perhaps those people who will be working in the higher levels. We've seen people working for the UN here, rolling with big cars and chase cars and everything. There is that cadre, and there is another cadre levels that are going to invest.
But I'll also give you a perfect example. People are not being paid in top dollar; they are being paid in Kenyan shillings. Most of our cabinet secretaries, how many of them have their children in Kenyan schools or Kenyan universities? None of them.
Few.
Under the country, the UN General Assembly. Quickly, what do you think about it? Or the Olympics of politics?
The Olympics, you know, now place there they call it the Olympics.
Yes.
The Olympics of politics. Well, it's a very good venue for people to, you know, that is the only place you're going to find people treated as if almost equals, because you're given a limited amount of time. Going to look at or expect people to talk about the coups that they have been happening in Africa, climate change. You know, ACS, they're going to present their agenda there. We are also going to look at what the G20, Africa being part of the G20, what they are also planning and
changing.
Exactly. So there are a lot of aspects that we're going to really look into and we'll discuss in the coming platform.
Okay, we will not add anything. I will sound more controversial. Congo-Brazzaville.
Congo-Brazzaville. Well, we woke up with news that Congo-Brazzaville was under a coup, but so far nothing has been confirmed yet. Well, maybe, perhaps it can happen because the person has really stayed in power. 39 years is really a long time, and it is probable. It is probable, but we don't have confirmation yet, and we don't really need coups, a lot of coups in Africa. If we can find a way to resolve our issues and just democratically solve our issues, that will be the best.
Or we do coups like Gabon.
That is a family feud.
Yeah, we just do coups like Gabon and Zimbabwe.
You say that you can now travel, you can now go anywhere you want. It was a very...
purport that there is a coup that is happening, so that we can have that.
Can have that shift in power.
As the person who is in power, you do not lose your mind, because because I think it's people who, these leaders are afraid of saying that they lost an election, so they decide to overstay. So you plan your demise softly. What would be your closing remark this evening?
Well, I'll try and say this. You know, being civil in politics is really not a weakness, and this goes to Moses Kuria and co. And that's not happening only in Kenya.